Steve here with Table Rock Tea Company. Today I'm going to be talking about welding. Now let me preface this by saying I can weld. I am not a welder. I have said that so many times that I would never insult a welder by claiming to be one. Those guys are in a league of their own. I know several welders. They're very, very talented people. But today what I'll be talking about is farm welding, or I guess functional welding. When you're on a farm, things break, you have to fabricate stuff, and it can get really expensive, but also really time consuming. If you have to take a project somewhere, leave it, pick it back up again, not only is it expensive financially, but it's expensive in terms of time, and time that you're not productive. So I'm working on creating bench seats for this tug that we just bought, which requires a lot of welding. Now this is mild steel. I can't do things like stainless or aluminum or brass brazing and things like that, but mild steel, yeah, all day long. And square steel tubing is easy. So I'm going to show you some things. I've been welding for a long time now. We started welding when we were making tools for hydro missions, and I just needed to learn how to weld. So what I'm going to show you are some tools and some tricks, and this will be a rather long video, but hopefully it will, I guess, inspire you. First of all, thanks so much to Alan Webster. He's the guy that originally taught me to weld, and yeah, that was 2 decades ago, Alan. And yeah, I've welded so many things, and I still have a lot of the equipment that I bought when I first started. The quick backstory is that I wanted to be able to build things, to create things, to fabricate things. I did not necessarily want to learn how to become a professional welder. Now, I think that's awesome. If that's what you want to do, that's great. But I just wanted to be up and running, and so I'm going to show you some of the tools that I have that have really helped me to do that. I'm going to guess nowadays with today's prices, if you really want to get into up and running functional, it'll probably cost you about $1,000, but I can tell you one project will pay for itself, and you'll have that stuff pretty much for a long time. So let me show you some of the equipment. I'll put links to these in the description. And so I guess let me start with the welder. So I have a Hobart Handler 140, okay? I've owned this thing since probably 2002, so going on 20 years now. Really simple. What I like about this, and I don't know if I guess it's MIG, don't ask me the difference, MIG, TIG, all that stuff, Irish jig, I have no idea. I'm sure somebody in the comments below will tell me what this is. What's cool is you basically have this spool of wire. This is what's called a flux core wire feed welder, okay? So you've probably seen those old guys with the stick in one hand and the welding rod in the other hand. I didn't want to do that. I wanted both hands free. And so what this does is essentially it feeds the wire through here and then up into the welding wand. And it's got flux built in, so you don't have to hold a separate stick, and you're basically one hand free, which means you can hold on to, the piece as you're welding, which is really important. Of course, a good pair of gloves. But what I like about this Hobart Handler is it's super simple, but this was, one, it's portable, but two, this was the biggest capacity welding unit that uses just regular 110. So you can just plug it into regular household current. Probably not very efficient, I get that, but it gets the job done. Two very simple controls on it. You've got the voltage, or you've got the amount of juice going to it. So it's just 4 settings, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Usually for square steel tubing that's kind of like 1/8 inch thick, I use it on 2, so I don't burn through it. And then this over here is how fast the wire feeds through. And you want to dial this in so that it matches, so it's not sputtering. If it pushes it too fast, it doesn't burn everything with the voltage that you have set, and it'll sputter. Too slow, and you'll chew up your line. So you kind of dial that in, and that's it. It's really super simple. And I weld a ton here. So that's the one thing. Of course, a good pair of gloves. You might have noticed in the video that I'm wearing a blue long sleeve shirt. I always wear white t-shirts, and so this is kind of driving me nuts with my OCD, but if you don't cover your arms, you'll get radiation burns, I guess, kind of like being out in the sun too long, but really quickly. I just picked up this helmet and I really love it. This is a Hobart Creator Series auto dimming, and don't skimp on the helmet. I've had several cheap helmets, even auto dimmers. What's cool about the auto dimmers is that it auto dims. So when light hits it, it automatically just dims out and darkens. And so that lets you really get in on the piece and then just hit it, and your mask will dim itself for you. You don't have to like get close and then flip your mask down. That's just really a drag. So this makes things quick, but this is about $100. It's not cheap. But what's nice about it is it's got, this particular one has a really easy to change battery down there. And then here it's got a few settings. You can, on the left there, it's how dark you want it to be. The other one is how sensitive. So I'm out in the sun today, so if it keeps flickering on and off, you want to decrease the sensitivity or increase it. And then finally the delay from when it from the time that it senses until it actually darkens you out. So that's really cool. Super helpful. I honestly wouldn't weld without an auto dimmer. Because it's just, again, if you're going through the trouble of wanting to have a wire feed welder so you have one hand free, it doesn't make any sense then to have to flip your visor up and down every time you're ready to go. Next thing on the welding is an angle grinder. One of my friends who welds, again, not a welder, but he said he was trained as the bigger the blob, the better the job. But I can tell you that most welds can be corrected with an angle grinder. Anything sloppy, you grind it off, you paint it, you'll never know the difference. That you can get away with having something that's not, you know, super expensive if you're not gonna do a lot. And then this thing, I just picked this up. This is at Northern Tool. And this is a, let me see if I can find where it says, here we go. The Iron Ton 14-inch dry cut chop saw. So instead of an abrasive saw, this is a metal, and man, it is so clean. There's no sparks and soot flying everywhere. You can see the metal fragments that are left, but just makes a really nice cut. Thanks to Jared for getting me on that. I just picked it up yesterday, used it today for the first time, cut a bunch of stuff, and I won't go back. So anyhow, hope that kind of helps you get started. These things over here, again, I'll put links to all this stuff in the video. These are super helpful. These are magnetic 90-degree angles, and you can have different angles on them as well, but that lets you put them like this so that it'll hold your piece straight up and down. So again, magnetic. These are super helpful. In fact, you can't really do a project, well without them if you want to do square 90-degree angle stuff. So sorry about that little glip there. I hit the button by mistake, but hopefully that's a little bit of encouragement for you. It really helps to have one of these welding rigs on the farm. I can't tell you how many times I've used it. Like I said, I bought my Hobart there in 2002, and so that's been running for over 2 decades now, and man, it's just great. So yeah, if you need to get projects done, it's totally worth the money. It's worth saving up for, and like I said, you'll save that money on the very first project you do. So thanks again for watching. Stay tuned to see what else is brewing here at Table Rock Tea Company.